Republican, the understand project director. Attorney General, very good to have you. You know, I understand many Republicans being in a bit of a pickle on this situation, just as, by the way, Democrats were 20 years ago in the Bush Gore recount. You don't know quite what to say, when to say it, whether to fight on, et cetera. So the more vanilla response, and it's understandable, let the counting go on. But do you believe that the improprieties and charges of fraudulence are such that they would tip the results back to the president? That, never mind the proverbial cases of dead people voting. I mean, we see that, I guess, in a lot of elections. But that the numbers are so overwhelming, it would tip the results as we know them. Do you think that's the case?
It's very possible, and I'm glad you brought up Bush v. Gore, because as you remember, Neil, we were in the counting room. We remember them holding up the ballot to see if there was a hanging Chad, and America had an opinion. The difference with this election, and it's unprecedented, is America's not in the counting room. They kicked us out. In Philadelphia, they defied a court order to keep people away from seeing what is happening. And on top of that, they've invited a billionaire in the counting room. The state of the matter is this. Mark Zuckerberg's in the counting room, and America is kicked out. That's the problem with this election, and it's affected the election all the way through. Mark Zuckerberg gave $350 million to a charity, which then picked out Democrat strongholds, put Zucker boxes on the street. Let me give you just one example. Delaware County, right outside of Philadelphia, one drop box for every 4 square miles. Trump country in Philadelphia, one drop box for every 1,100 square miles. Government must not pick favorites in an election. And this entanglement demands that journalism and others say, how was the Zuckerberg money used to manage this election? I'll give you an example of this. In Philadelphia, they told the city how many polling places, and they paid the election judges and other election workers. Those are the people inside counting. And if you and I were playing poker,
who is paying these judges and these others? Who's paying them? Who are you saying is paying them?
The money flowed from Zuckerberg through the Center for Tech and Civic Alliance, or Civic Life, that is run by former Obama operatives. And they granted the monies to the city, and they told the city how to spend the money to manage the election. And they said, if you don't do it, we're going to take our money back. It's all through the nation.
Do you have, I don't mean a question, but do you have proof of that? That's a pretty overwhelming claim. So you're saying Absolutely. That there was a cabal of people who were trying to get a preordained response. So let me ask you this. If that happened in one state, are you arguing it's happening in up to the 5 or 6 states that counts are going on even as we speak? You'd have to run
Absolutely.
the table with that in order to justify that.
Absolutely. And here's an important point, and you know this, and journalism focuses on this. With government, you can get answers, right? You have demands because government needs to be transparent. They've hidden this through CTCL, which has told government what to do. So they need to be treated as government. Journalism, media needs to be in the counting room. And the question that I believe that should be asked is, why aren't you? Because America's history
well, then you have to make the assumption. You have to make the assumption that what you're charging here is happening not only in one city or locale like Philadelphia or let's say Pennsylvania, but in 5 or 6 other states. Now that would be a bit of a stretch, would it not? That would be a preordained fraudulent move on a national basis. If you're right?
Let me put it in scale. Let me put it in scale, and you are correct, and I appreciate the question. In March of this year, the federal government appropriated $400 million to help the states in the CARES Act to manage the election during COVID. Mark Zuckerberg has matched it. $400 million. $50 million into a tech group that is designing the software and helping the software that's our poll books. $350 million into the Center for Tech and Civic Life. Now, they're hiding a lot of this, but they have announced with great fanfare the millions that they have poured in. They have misrepresented how those monies have come in. And Neil, there's a couple of things, and I know you know this, and let me share the facts with the American public, and I appreciate this opportunity. Early money means everything, and it's more valuable than old money. CTCL started reaching out to Democrat mayors and going in and saying, we want these cities to apply for our grants. We believe we're going to have a lot of money back in May. And then in September, Zuckerberg announces, and the money flows to Philadelphia, to Minneapolis, to Milwaukee, to Detroit, to Maricopa County, all across this nation in the Democrat strongholds. Now, I'll add
well, I got to tell you, that's something, a lot of which you got to prove. I've not heard any of this. I've not heard, to say that Mark Zuckerberg is behind this expensive cabal here to tip the election in the Democrats' favor. I assume you have proof of this. I assume state after state where this is going on, you can have a paper trail. All right. We'll follow very closely. I've never heard it before. You're free to make that claim again, but I need to see proof. I think a lot of people need to see proof, but we'll follow it very, very closely. Phil Klein, thank you very, very much.